and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it if you join in live here on this early Sunday morning. Make sure you leave a comment down below, give the video a like and a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, please do so. And if you have not rang that little bell on the home screen, make sure you click on that because it will notify you when a video is posted. And the reason why I bring that up is because I have not mentioned that in a while, but I've been going live a lot lately. So if you click on that bell and I go live, you'll only miss a minute or two, and that way if you want to tune in live and comment, you can. Hey, Noah. Glad to have you here, man, and we're going to talk about not all the games, but most of the games coming up here in a couple of minutes. I considered recording this video, and then I thought, well, you know what? No, I'll go live, and that way if anybody wants to tune in live, they can. I always enjoy reading the messages. Of course, sometimes you're going to get those bots that leave all this bad stuff that unfortunately you just can't avoid when you post live videos, especially late at night. But the people that are real, that post actual real talk that's clean, I enjoy seeing your feedback. We had 3 teams that started the day undefeated who are no longer undefeated. So we'll talk about how many teams are left that are still undefeated coming up here in a few minutes. Hey there, Puzzle Vision. Glad to have you here. Make sure you give the video a like and a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, please do so. I've been getting a lot of new viewers here lately, and I enjoy that. That way I know the channel is finally reaching a new audience. I've been doing this since March of 2021, I believe. So the channel is about 3.5 years old, so we're slowly but surely growing. And thank you very much for that, Puzzle. I greatly appreciate it. You liked and subscribed, and that is wonderful to hear. Let's go back to some of the games earlier in the week. Jacksonville State defeated Liberty 31-21. So Liberty was undefeated. Now they've lost back-to-back games. Last week they lost to Kennesaw State and gave Kennesaw State their first win. This week they lost to Jacksonville State. Cubhead, glad to have you here. The Signs, glad to have you here. Blex, no, I did not go to Clemson, but thank you for asking. But I have been a fan since 1996, but no, I did not go to school there. But if you cut me, I bleed orange, and I have actually, before, when the channel was in its early days, talked about how I became a Clemson fan, and I may talk about that again coming up later on down the line as the channel continues to grow, because I know if I talk about it too much, then the folks that watch all the time are going to be saying, man, I've heard this story 15 times. But if you don't bring it up at all, then all the new folks wonder, did you go there? How'd you become a fan of them? How long you been a fan of them? So you have to find a happy medium and not talk about it too much, but do talk about it for all the new people every now and then. And Blex, thank you for the kind words, and I've talked about it numerous times, and I can say this 11 times and don't mind. I am dedicated. I support Clemson in every sport and everything they do. If they don't win a game in no other sport to the end of time, I'm still going to be a fan. But since I was about 14 years old, I've always said that sports are sports. They're fun to watch. They're fun to talk about. But I don't let my day, my week, or my month get ruined because my team got beat. Clemson lost just a few minutes ago, and in the middle of the fourth quarter, I done told myself they've lost this game, and I was over it just like that. I just don't care. Life is too short to worry about things you can't change. And if your team gets beat, you can't change it. Oh well, move on. Be Love, glad to have you here. Cubhead Gaming, glad to have you here. Once Orbit Alpha, glad to have you here. And Joe Boy, glad to have you here. I think Joe and Once Orbit Alpha, I believe this is the first time I have seen y'all's names. So if you are new to the channel, thank you for being here. But Jacksonville State, of course, is coached by Rich Rodriguez. Be interesting to see if he gets another big time job somewhere. He's still not very old, so he might get a job somewhere else. He was very successful at West Virginia, and I personally thought he got fired way too soon at Michigan. He went there and completely changed their offensive scheme, but he won 3 games in year 1, 5 games in year 2, 7 games in year 3, and they fired him. But obviously, he was going the right direction. Then he went to Arizona, where it's hard to win at, and had a couple of good years, and then had one bad year, and they ran him off. So Rich Rodriguez is a proven winner, but he could stay at Jacksonville State and win there and be there as long as he wants. Thursday night, Tulane defeated Charlotte 34-3. Friday night, Boise State beat San Diego State 56-24. UConn wins again. They defeated Georgia State 34-27. Now on to the games that happened on Saturday, or on the East Coast, I can now officially say yesterday. Ohio State defeated Penn State 20-13, and all week long, all you heard about in that game was which coach needs the game more, because Ryan Day and James Franklin both have awful numbers as far as their win-loss record against top 5 teams. But when both teams are top 5, somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. So somebody's record is going to get a little better and somebody's going to get a little worse. But I personally thought that Ohio State needed to win a little more, because they already had a loss and Penn State was undefeated, and Penn State's not going to lose to a top 5 team and fall out of the top 10. So I personally thought the Buckeyes needed to win more, and they got the win 20-13. Like every game, the 2 top 5 teams, that comes down to the wire, which this game did. There was 3 or 4 plays in the game that either could have made it a complete Ohio State blowout or a Penn State win. Just to give you some of the key plays in case you, for some reason, didn't watch the game. Penn State did not get an offensive touchdown. Their touchdown came on a pick 6. I think it was officially like a 28-yard pick 6. Penn State actually kicked a field goal on their first drive, and then when they kicked off, I believe it was the 3rd play from scrimmage, Will Howard threw an interception, and Penn State ran it in for the touchdown. That was Penn State's only touchdown of the game. And then Will Howard also fumbled the ball, and it came out of the back of the end zone, which, of course, is a turnover, and it's a touchback. So that's a touchdown Ohio State gave away. So Will Howard had 2 huge turnovers. And then right before the half, Penn State drove all the way down the field, got down to the goal line almost, and threw what was originally called an incomplete pass, but then replay showed that the defender who batted the ball away, did not bat the ball away. He picked the ball off in the end zone. So Penn State throws a pick in the end zone. And then in the fourth quarter, Penn State drove down the field, got to a first and goal on the 3, and then got down to the 1. And on the fourth and goal from the 1, I personally thought they'd kick the field goal, make it 20-16, because there was like 5.5 minutes to go in the game, and they had all 3 of their timeouts, and it's not like Ohio State was moving the ball like crazy on offense. So I thought, well, you kick a field goal, make it 20-16, get the ball back. But James Franklin decided to go for it, didn't get it. The Buckeyes got the ball back with 5:13 to go in the game, and Penn State had all 3 of their timeouts, and Ohio State drove from inside their own 1-yard line down to, I believe, the last play of the game was on the Penn State 38, I think. And they ran it every single play and made Penn State use all their timeouts. So the Buckeyes get the win 20-13. So the game was picked to be close, and the game was close. Miami comes from behind again. They're definitely a fourth quarter team. They win the game at 53-31, but they were actually trailing in the third quarter, and the Hurricanes had a huge fourth quarter. Hello there, Lennox. Glad to have you here on this Sunday morning. We've wondered all year long where the Ole Miss offense was. It finally, for the first time all year, showed up big. Ole Miss all over Arkansas, 63-31. Army wins again. They defeat Air Force 20-3. Minnesota defeated Illinois 25-17. PJ Fleck is getting the Golden Gophers to play a little better each week as the year goes on. Northwestern defeats Purdue in overtime at 26-20. That's, in my opinion, the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten. NC State had their best offensive game of the year. They destroy Stanford 59-28. And Lennox, I am great. Thank you for asking. Every day is a good day. There are no such thing as bad days. There are bad moments in every day, because there's no such thing as a perfect day or a perfect person, but not bad days. We choose to let bad moments make our day bad, because we can't get over things that don't go our way, because we as humans act like adults, and one small thing don't go our way and we pout about it all day long, and that makes the day bad, but that's because of our own doings. There's no such thing as a bad day, just bad moments in every day. Hello there, Cowboys. Hello there, Select. Glad to have you here. Syracuse comes from behind. They defeat Virginia Tech 38-31. Toledo defeated Eastern Michigan by stopping a 2-point conversion at the end, and they win 29-28. Vanderbilt defeats Auburn 17-7. And I know I've talked all year long about Oklahoma's offense being so bad, and it is. That's your favorite college team. Who is that? Cowboys. I just mentioned like 10 games, so I'm not sure which team you're talking about. Go Clemson. Oh, okay, there you go. I guess you're a Clemson fan. That's good to hear. And Oklahoma's offense is bad, but at least Oklahoma can use the excuse that they've got a new coordinator on offense, because their old coordinator left to be the head coach at Mississippi State, and they've got a brand new quarterback, and they've got a head coach that's defensive minded. Auburn has the same quarterback as last year, and a head coach that's supposed to be an offensive genius, and Auburn's offense is absolutely atrocious. You should get 5 years probation automatically for making your fans come out and support a team that can't score against air. I mean, it is absolutely embarrassing how bad Auburn is on offense. I have seen Pee-wee teams who could probably score more points than Auburn. I mean, it is absolutely embarrassing. UTSA defeats Memphis 44-17. 36. Memphis been putting up points all year long, but they can't stop anybody, and it finally comes back to bite them because the Roadrunners put up 44 points. Texas Tech knocks off Iowa State 23-22. Oklahoma has a horrible offense. Their defense ain't as good as it's been, recently. But their defense isn't awful, but it's not great. But their offense is absolutely atrocious. And I think their defense could be better if their offense could score. But if you're on Oklahoma's defense, if the other team scores 14 points, you're beat. So you've got to go out there and try to play perfect. And that's just too hard to do. Oklahoma's defense ain't great, but it ain't bad. But their offense is pitiful. But it's not as bad as Auburn. Auburn's offense is absolutely embarrassing. They've got to have the worst offense amongst the Power 4 teams. Georgia defeated Florida 34-20, and thank you for subscribing, Cowboys. I greatly appreciate it. And no matter where you live, what teams you like, what sports you like, if you like more than one sport, you'll see here on the channel I talk college football, I talk NFL, I talk baseball, I talk college basketball, I talk NBA, I talk wrestling. I even do top 10 countdowns that sometimes are about sports and sometimes they're not. So there's something for everybody here on the channel. And I have teams that I like in every sport, but I don't show favoritism. When I get here on the channel, whether I like a team or not, I call it like I see it. Now, I don't use foul language. To me, I'm not 10. You can talk without using foul language. If you can't, go back to school. I don't use foul language, and I don't call anybody names, but I just call things the way I see them. You play football and rugby. Well, that's good to hear. Maybe sometime you can tell me who you play for and who you play rugby for as well. But Georgia wins the game 34-20. It was actually 20-20. That game was reminiscent of the Kentucky game. Florida had plenty of chances in the first half to put the game away, and they just couldn't do it. So when they got to halftime, I said, well, Georgia's going to win this game because Florida can't score. And eventually, Georgia's going to have enough on offense to where they're going to win the game. But Carson Beck has thrown 11 interceptions in the last 5 games. Now, I didn't expect Georgia's offense to be as good as it's been the last couple of years because they depended so much on Brock Bowers, and he's not there anymore. But also pretty much every reliable, experienced receiver you had from last year, you lost. And you just can't lose the best tight end in football and all those receivers that come back and be as good. That's just not realistic, and that's probably not going to happen. And sure enough, it hasn't happened. So I do understand that Georgia's offense is not going to be as good because of that. And they're either leading the SEC or leading college football in most dropped passes. That's not Carson Beck's fault, but the double coverage throwing the ball and triple team coverage throwing the ball and throwing behind receivers, in front of receivers, and throwing the ball to the other team, that's on Carson Beck. And those things he didn't do last year, I'm not sure exactly what's happened. But you can see how good Georgia can be because the Texas game was the only game this year they came out of the gate and firing on all cylinders. And they beat Texas pretty handily. But outside of that game and every other game this year, Georgia looks like doo-doo in at least the first quarter, if not the first half. And that's why I say they're going to lose to either Ole Miss or Tennessee. I don't know which one. They could maybe lose both, but I don't think so. But those are 2 top 10 teams, and I don't think you're going to come out and play like dog crap in the first quarter or first half and come back and win. But even the Clemson game, Georgia won it handily by the time the game was over, but at halftime it's 6-0. Georgia's offense just comes out of the gate slow. It might be the game plan. I don't know. But they always get better as the game goes on. Clemson is better than the team you like. Well, I don't know who you're referencing when you say team you like, because I'm a Clemson fan, so try to be more specific with that, if you don't mind, Cowboy. Indiana wins again. They defeat Michigan State 47-10. And Indiana plays Ohio State, I believe, on the 16th, which would be 2 weeks from yesterday. That'll be a great game. And Oregon wins again. They defeat Michigan 38-17. I wanted that game to be close, but Michigan's got three quarterbacks, and none of them can throw a forward pass. And sure enough, they still can't. So Oregon wins it pretty easily. UCLA defeats Nebraska 27-20. Nebraska started out the season, their first 6 games. You couldn't have asked for an easier schedule, but they're going to go from looking like they were going to be an 8 or 9 win team to struggling to reach 6 wins, because they're actually playing a real competition now. We see that Nebraska's got a little better, but not much. Oh, the other viewer. Okay, I'm sorry. I just saw the comment, and while I was talking, I got confused. But I don't do a lot of smack talk. I love talking sports, but I never have been much of a smack talker. Now, I'll sit down and carry on a conversation, but I really don't do a lot of smack talking, because most fan bases and most teams get their feelings hurt really easy, and they can talk about your team all day long, but talk about their team, and they want to fight, and sports ain't worth getting upset over. And I wrote this score down just because this is a game that everybody should have been able to watch, because it had to have been a very entertaining game. But Wyoming defeated New Mexico 49-45. Kansas State was number 17, and they lost to Houston 24-19. It was 19-10, and Houston scored the last 14 points of the game. Tennessee Tech wins their homecoming. They're now 52-10 over Lindenwood, and they're 4-5 on the season, and they've got a shot to reach 6 wins. For Tennessee Tech, 6-6 is a pretty good season. So Tennessee Tech's got a chance to have a decent season this year. This is their coach's first year. They played at Lindenwood for homecoming, and just for kicks and giggles, without getting on Google, can anybody tell me where Lindenwood is located at? You've got to go, but you love the stream. Have a good night. You too, Cowboy. Check in anytime, and you can comment anytime, even if it's not a live video. If you go back and comment on something I already posted, I will still see the comment. So feel free to comment anytime on anything. Pittsburgh was undefeated, and they got destroyed by SMU 48-25. And at one time, the game wasn't that close. SMU was up 34-3 at one point. South Carolina destroys Texas A&M, who was ranked number 10. The Chickens win that game 44-20. Tennessee, another sluggish, slow start, just like Georgia. They're slow out of the gate. The way these two teams play offense in the first half, when Tennessee plays Georgia, I believe it's in 2 weeks, it might be halftime 0-0, because neither team tries to move the ball in the first half. But Tennessee beats Kentucky 28-18. North Carolina defeats Florida State 35-11, and they won't say it out loud, but I'm just about willing to bet you that all the fans, all the coaches, and all the players in and around Tallahassee are wanting this season to end bad. Florida State could not suck any worse. I mean, they are awful. They'd still beat Auburn because Auburn can't score, but Florida State is awful. And don't be surprised if DJU gets a medical red shirt. I know it's supposed to be you can't red shirt if you play more than 4 games. He played more than 4 games. But you see people now get 2, 3, 4, 5 medical red shirts. I don't see why DJU can't. So don't be surprised if he gets a medical red shirt and returns to play next year, either for Florida State or he'll transfer and go somewhere else. Baylor defeats TCU 37-34. Baylor is now 5-4 on the season. TCU falls to 5-4. Iowa all over Wisconsin. Those two teams play. It's usually down to the wire because it's two teams that dominate with defense. But this game wasn't close. Iowa wins at 42-10. Georgia Southern defeats South Alabama 34-30. Georgia Southern is now 6-3 on the season. And the last game we'll talk about, Louisville defeated Clemson 33-21. It was actually 26-7 with about 7 minutes to go in the game, and I knew right then this game's over. But that offense looked like the offense Clemson's had for the last 3 years going into this year, because the offense looked the same against Georgia, but they've averaged like 49 points a game almost since the Georgia game. What happened last night, I have no idea. For a while, the offense looked backwards. They came out the first two drives, both 3-and-outs. They ran the ball once and threw it 5 times. But then in the fourth quarter, when the game's out of hand, they run the ball like crazy. But the reason was Cade Klubnik was bad all night long. He was either waiting too long to throw the ball, throwing in front of people, behind people, over people. So when you can't throw the ball downfield, you're better off just giving the ball to Moffa. I know it takes up more time, but you're better off getting 5 or 6 yards running the ball than you do get 2 or 3 throwing the ball. But at one time, in the middle of the fourth quarter, Cade Klubnik had 18 completions for 97 yards. That's about 5.4 yards of completion. That's terrible, and nothing was downfield. Every completed pass was 3 or 4 yards in. Anything downfield was throw too late, throw too high, throw too far behind. I mean, he just looked awful all night long. We had 2 field goals blocked. The Clemson kicker has yet to actually kick a ball in the air and either miss left, miss right, or hit the upright. Every kick that he has gotten off has gone through, so he's got recorded 4 misses, but he ain't missed one. All 4 misses have been blocked. But right now, this loss might benefit Clemson, because with that loss, it's looking like, unless one of them lose, the conference championship game is going to be Miami and SMU. And if that happens, if Miami beats SMU by 10 or more points, SMU is going to fall out of the top 10. So if Clemson is still, 13, 14, they could jump up into the top 12 by virtue of not playing the conference championship game. But now if the Hurricanes beat SMU, by a touchdown or so, that might not happen. And if SMU pulls off the upset, it won't happen. Because SMU beats Miami, then Miami will still get in, because they're going to be in the top 5, and they're not going to be in the top 5 and lose their conference championship game and fall out of the top 12. But if Miami and SMU play, I think Miami wins the game. But we've still got 4 games to go in the regular season, so either one of them or both of them could lose. But as of right now, we're looking at Miami and SMU for the ACC championship. But Clemson's got to get back on track. That was the worst the offensive line has looked all year long. You've been able to tell since game 1 against Georgia that Matt Luke is now coaching the offensive line, because in one game it looked way better than it has any time in the last 5 years. But against Louisville, they got whooped up front. Only on pass blocking. The run blocking was fine, but their pass blocking was awful. Not that it mattered, because when Cade had time to throw the ball. He sucked at it, but a lot of the times he didn't have time throwing the ball. But it's awful to play a home game when you're just outside the top 10 and you've been wanting to play somebody for a while now, and you finally play somebody good and you play them at home in prime time, and you're coming off a bye week and you look that bad on offense. The first 3 quarters, our offense looked absolutely pitiful. By the fourth quarter, it looked better, but it's 26-7, so it doesn't matter. Hey, Christopher, glad to have you here. We are talking some college football. I'm going to talk wrestling coming up later on in the week. But right now, our undefeated teams, as far as the big-time FBS level, are undefeated teams. We have Oregon, Indiana, BYU, Army, and Miami. We started the day with those teams, plus Penn State, plus Iowa State, plus Pittsburgh. So we go from 8 down to 5 in one day. I have lots of I have one daughter, if that's what you're asking. I only have one daughter. I'm assuming you're asking that, so I'll answer the question the way I'm interpreting the question. I have one daughter. But the question, from what I see, it says you have lots of girls, and no, I have one. But thank you for asking. She is a lot to handle, but she's only one, and she is her daddy made over. You can tell in about 2 seconds that she is my daughter. But thanks for all the ones that tuned in tonight and tuned in live. Thanks for all the ones that commented. Thanks to any new subscribers we have gotten tonight during this video. Make sure you give the video a like and a thumbs up. I have one. She is 10, Christopher, and I actually have 2, but one is in heaven because we lost her when my wife was 22 weeks and I believe 4 days. It's been 13 years ago. So we have one on earth and one in heaven. So I have 2 girls. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Christopher, thanks for coming in. Next time we go live, make sure you click that bell so that you'll be notified through your tablet, through your TV, through your phone, whatever you watch on, so you can come on here and tune in live from the get-go and comment as we go. I always have one topic that I want to talk about and focus on that main topic. Tonight was college football, but I can always answer any questions about anything as we go. That's what I love so much about the live videos. You have a certain topic, but then you can jump off topic and answer any question you may get as you go. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Preparing meals in the kitchen is counterproductive. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them by